Hi travel babes, welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany Monique and I am here with a travel budget video. I love to travel a lot and it can get pricey, no lies, but I'm gonna give you a couple of tips that I personally use myself, and hopefully that helps you out in your next international travel. So in my early 20s and mid 20s, I didn't make a lot of money. I made enough money to, take care of myself, but I couldn't travel lavishly, which is fine because I know in the future I'll be able to travel exactly the way I want to travel. But I don't think just because you don't have a lot of money that you can't have fulfilling travel experiences. I did. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. But let's start off by saying I really dislike all of this gatekeeping that's happening in the travel community. We have to understand that everyone travels for different reasons and there's no one way of traveling. Some people like to travel to go to tropical areas, drink fruity cocktails and stay on the beach and not do anything. Some people like backpacking in Japan, like me. I like doing stuff like that. I like hiking. I like adventures, except with water. I'm not a big water person. So let's get out of that mindset that everyone is supposed to be traveling the same way, because that's not true. That leads me into my first advice. Figure out what kind of traveling you want to do. Meaning that you gotta figure out what experience you want. I personally like going to local areas and shopping with the locals and doing what the locals do. But some people really just like seeing the tourist area, which is fine. But you have to figure out what type of traveling you want to do in order to create a budget. And that is my number one advice before you even get started looking up plane tickets and restaurants and hotel. Figure out what your travel budget is, and that all starts with what type of travel experience that you want. All right, tip number 2. Do your research. When you do your research, you have to figure out the average cost for lodging, for food, for public transportation or Uber or Lyft. Also activities and attractions. All of those stuff should play a part of your budget. The one thing you don't want to do is go to a country, be blindsided by the price. That has happened to me once or twice. So be better to me. Don't do that. Do your research. All right, so this one is a little more controversial, but this is my tip number 3. Take advantage of those for payment options that you could do with flights now. When I was traveling in my early 20s and mid 20s, that wasn't available. I couldn't break up my flights in 4 payments, but now you can. There's so many websites you could do this now. You can go on QuadPay and find something. Klarna, you can find something. Affirm has the same thing. I've actually used Affirm for a trip. My last trip to Japan, I think I broke it up in 4 payments. There's a lot of debate about should you use this. Honestly, you do have to understand that those websites will be taking a little bit more than the flight costs because they got to make their money too. I just think it's ridiculous that we're gatekeeping travel so much that we're just oh, well, you can't afford to travel, don't travel. I am a firm believer that everyone should have access to traveling. So if that is an option for you, if you don't mind paying a little bit of extra to be able to go on your dream vacation, then do it. Honestly, I can go on and on about this topic because that pisses me off so much, how people are just oh, if you're broke, don't go. If you're broke, don't travel. Like this video if you want me to go in, okay? If you want me to go in on those specific travelers, please like this video down below. I want all the smoke. All right, tip number 4, book your flight way ahead of time, okay? Do not wait a month until the vacation starts. Don't do that to yourself. I promise. You're always gonna pay more than if you had purchased your ticket 3 months in advance. A good example is I found a flight to Japan for $700 round trip. Now I paid 4 or 5 months in advance to my trip, but I saved over I usually spend about $1,400 for a round trip to Japan. And I paid $700 because I bought my ticket way ahead of time. All right, tip number 5 is to travel during the off season. When I say that, I mean if you go to all of these like touristy spots in like really nice weather, really nice seasons. So for example, Paris in the springtime or summertime, it's going to be more expensive than Paris in the fall if you bought a flight for the fall or winter. I did that. I spent $400 going to Paris in October. If I had waited to the springtime, I know my ticket would have been way more, because people don't want to travel during the really cold seasons to a place that's also cold. Like I was traveling with a coat on and everything else, but I'm from Chicago. That weather doesn't bother me like that. I just wanted the experience of going to Paris. Go ahead and travel when it's not popular to travel. All right, tip number 6, save money on food. Some people love to just go to the different places and just buy breakfast, lunch, dinner, like snacks. That's a lot of money, okay? And if you could cut costs somewhere, I personally suggest breakfast is a good option. So if you're going to a different place and you have a hotel or Airbnb somewhere you're staying, just go to your local grocery store, pick up your favorite, like if you like cereal or you like granola bars or stuff like that. That way you can eat at your accommodation and not spend money, a whole bunch of money eating out. My example is Paris again. Shout out to Paris, okay? Because you're holding it down in this video right now with the examples. So when I went to Paris with my cousin, we went to the grocery store and I ended up buying a bunch of fruit and yogurt, because I'm not a big breakfast person anyways. So I just like to eat really light in the morning. It makes me feel a little more energetic. And I ended up saving about $50 to $60 on food, on my food budget. Remember that budget we talked about earlier? Yeah, that food budget. I ended up saving $50 because I wasn't buying breakfast in the morning. I ended up putting that $50 towards the wine. But I did say I was able to drink more wine because I saved on my food costs. So think about that. I just think it's interesting. You can definitely save some money there. Tip number 7 is to pack light. I say this because I've been at the airport so many times where I had to pay for extra luggage. That shit is not cheap, I'm telling you. I was in Japan going back to the States to visit, and I packed entirely too much stuff, and also had some souvenirs. And so when I got up to check in my bag, it was overweight, and I ended up having to spend an extra $100, which I was so mad about because I know about the weight limit for your luggage, but I still ended up packing so much. Just don't do that to yourself. I had to throw away some clothes one time because I didn't have enough money to pay for my overweight luggage, and it was a sad moment. I was just throwing away stuff, and I was also trying to catch a flight. So just don't do that to yourself. Pack light. I mean, you could pack one of these Brown Girls Be Traveling shirts because they're very light, and you can pack like 3-4 of them, and they're awesome, okay? What is going on in this freaking house? I'm almost done with the video. Oh my god. All right, tip number 8 is to bring your own toiletries. You don't want to go to this different country and have to buy toothbrush, deodorant, feminine products, all of this stuff that you can bring home. If you got it at home, bring it. Unless it's like, how you can't bring a certain amount of like liquid or something. Just go to like Target or Walmart and buy like the travel packs of like Listerine or whatever you need. Just buy it in your home country because you don't know how much these things are in the country you're visiting. When I studied abroad in Japan, I brought all of my toiletries to my dorm, and my whole floor, all of the girls on my floor were just like, well, Brittany got this, Brittany got razors, Brittany got deodorant. I just had like extra everything, sunscreen, everything, just because I knew that I didn't necessarily trust the Japanese products. Also didn't know how much it cost, so I was just like, let me just bring my own stuff. And ever since then, I always brought my own toiletries. Except when I lived in Japan, I had to buy what was there. Okay, lotion in Japan is ridiculously expensive. All right, tip number 9. Buy your tickets to your excursions or activities online. I've heard so many times that you would save some money and time buying your ticket online. Okay, so a lot of times when you buy your ticket on site, they would charge you additional like service fee. It could be like from $2 to $5. It's a little bit extra, but if you buy your ticket online, all you usually have to do is download the ticket, show it to, the ticket person, and you can go in and do what you gotta do. But if you buy your ticket on site, you're gonna be charged a service fee, and also you probably have to wait in line depending on how touristy this attraction is. You don't wanna waste your time in line, so definitely buy your tickets online, and also look up free things you can do in the country you're visiting. There's so many free stuff and opportunities you can do if you just do a little bit of research, but you can also save a lot of money that way as well. Tip number 10, use public transportation. Obviously this comes with research depending on the country you are visiting. Make sure it's safe. Doing a little bit of research, you will probably find out that public transportation is cheaper than doing Lyft or cabs. I did a cab a few times in Japan. It's literally one of the most expensive cab trips I ever had. But yeah, don't be afraid to use public transportation because that will save you some money. Tip number 11. This is so important now that I've gotten older. Travel insurance, okay? When you book a flight, especially anything over a certain amount, so for me, like if it's over $500, I usually put travel insurance. But just in case your flight gets canceled or delayed, or worst thing is basically it gets canceled, you don't want to just lose that money, right? Go ahead and pay the little $30, $60 to put travel insurance on your vacation, just because you don't want to just be in a very bad situation where you lose out on a whole bunch of money. So yeah, I'd rather lose $60 than lose $1,000. So go ahead, get that travel insurance just in case, especially this time right now, right? COVID, pandemic, you don't want to play with your money, okay? Nobody got money like that to be throwing it to these big companies. All right, this is a little extra tip, but now that we are traveling and still a pandemic going on, make sure that you research the COVID protocols of whatever country you're visiting, plus whatever is going on in your home country, just because sometimes they require you to take a COVID test that can be pretty expensive. I know that some places you can book your COVID test at the airport and it costs a certain amount, but if you don't book it online, then you have to pay extra. Like, you don't want to do that. Or also you might need a vaccine to go to different places, so you don't want to be at the airport and you can't get to the country you want to visit because you need a vaccine. So do your research, because I promise you, if you don't do that and you are surprised at the airport that you got to pay for $300 COVID test, I'm sure it's not that much, but don't do that to yourself, okay? Do the research. Once again, theme is do the research. So all right, that brings us to the end of this video. I wish I've known these things, back when I was traveling, but it's better to learn them now than to learn them later. And now that I have the information, I would like to share with you all so you guys can have a wonderful travel experience. Let me know if there's anything else I can add to this list. Drop them down below, because I'm always learning and there's better ways of doing certain things and better ways of traveling. So just let me know too, okay? Let's make this a community. And also I have a travel store where I basically make clothes for your everyday traveler. Like, this is the original white crop top. If you would like to support my online brand, please check out that link down below. But that's all I have for you this time. And remember folks, brown girls be traveling. Bye.